Brooklyn Winters had always lived a life most women envied. Heiress to the Winters Hotel empire, she had the beauty, the power, the money, and the kind of arrogance that made people either worship or despise her. Manhattan was her kingdom, and she ruled it with a smile sharp enough to cut through anyone's pride. Men fell at her feet, women fumed in jealousy, and the media adored her scandals as long as she never truly broke. But Brooklyn had never met anyone who made her feel vulnerable. Until Ethan Calloway walked into her life. Ethan was nothing like the men Brooklyn was used to. He wasn't rich, flashy, or trying to impress her with empty charm. He was a new architect in the city, tall, broad-shouldered, with a quiet confidence that demanded attention without asking for it. His eyes seemed to see straight through her, and for the first time, Brooklyn felt the thrill of uncertainty. She didn't know whether to be intrigued or afraid. Their first encounter was at a charity gala in downtown Manhattan. Brooklyn wore a black sequined gown, the kind that sparkled enough to blind anyone who looked too closely. Men approached her like moths to a flame, but she barely noticed, until Ethan appeared. He was leaning casually against the balcony railing, holding a glass of whiskey, scanning the room as if searching for something or someone. When his eyes met hers, she felt a flicker in her chest she couldn't explain. He didn't smile immediately, didn't bow to her status. He simply nodded, a half smile tugging at his lips. And that half smile was enough to make Brooklyn's world spin. Over the next few weeks, Brooklyn tried everything to get his attention. She flirted shamelessly at parties, sent invitations to exclusive events, even hinted at lucrative opportunities for his architecture firm. But Ethan remained aloof. He didn't avoid her, but he didn't chase her either. He treated her like just a person. That alone was torture for someone like Brooklyn. Frustration turned into obsession. The more she tried to control him, the more he seemed untouchable, like a force of nature she couldn't bend. Every time she saw him, the way his broad shoulders filled a room, the confidence in his step, and yes, the undeniable masculinity of him made her pulse race in ways she couldn't rationalize. One rainy Friday night, fate intervened. Brooklyn had thrown a private gala at the penthouse she inherited from her grandmother, the kind of night that glittered with champagne, designer dresses, and laughter that felt like music. Ethan appeared unannounced, wearing a tailored navy suit that hugged his frame perfectly, his hair slightly damp from the rain. The moment their eyes met, she knew the night would be unforgettable. He approached her with calm authority. "Brooklyn," he said, voice low, eyes dark. "You look dangerous." She laughed, but it was nervous. Dangerous? Who was he to call her dangerous? Yet his tone carried a weight she couldn't ignore. "And you're fearless?" She shot back. He smirked. "I guess we'll find out." The party blurred around them. Brooklyn tried to maintain control, laughing, teasing, drawing him into conversation. But when the night ended, he didn't leave. He followed her into the private elevator, and suddenly, all pretense dissolved. "Why are you here?" she asked, heart pounding. "Because I want you," he replied simply, eyes locking onto hers. "Not the Brooklyn Winters everyone fears, just you." The elevator doors closed with a soft ding, sealing them in a bubble of tension. She felt the heat of him before she saw it, the raw, undeniable presence of his masculinity. It wasn't just physical, it was dominance, control, and desire all rolled into one. She had always been the queen, the untouchable, but Ethan had a way of making her feel like she was on her knees, waiting. He stepped closer, the scent of his cologne mixed with the rain, intoxicating her. His lips found hers, slow, deliberate, testing, claiming. Brooklyn's knees weakened, and she knew she was lost. She tried to resist, tried to remind herself of her power, her status, but Ethan was relentless. Every touch, every glance, every whispered word stripped her defenses. By the time they reached her penthouse, Brooklyn was trembling with anticipation, humiliated and exhilarated all at once. Ethan's hands moved with precision and hunger, pulling at the edges of her control. He undressed her slowly, savoring every moment, every gasp she released, every shiver she couldn't hide. And then it happened. The force of him, his size, his strength, his intense, powerful manhood overwhelmed her completely. Brooklyn, the heiress who had never lost, who had never begged, found herself gasping, crying out, surrendering to a desire she had buried beneath layers of pride and arrogance. It was passionate, wild, consuming. She had never felt so alive, so out of control. Morning light spilled across the penthouse, painting her in soft gold as she awoke beside him. Ethan was still there, his hand resting lightly on her waist, eyes closed. Brooklyn's heart raced as memories of the night before flooded back. She had been conquered, humiliated, and yet she had never felt more exhilarated. Over the next few days, something strange began to happen. Brooklyn's carefully built world started to crumble. Deals she had thought secure fell through. Rivals resurfaced, eager to exploit weaknesses she hadn't known existed. And through it all, Ethan remained calm, untouchable, and infuriatingly in control. The whispers started. People noticed the shift in her. Brooklyn Winters, the untouchable heiress, seemed different, vulnerable, obsessed. And no one realized the cause of her fall, the man who had claimed her body and mind with a power she couldn't resist. Weeks later, desperate to regain her grip on life, Brooklyn sought him out at a secluded cabin in upstate New York. The mountains were cloaked in mist, the perfect setting for confrontation or surrender. She wasn't sure which she wanted. Ethan greeted her at the door, casual, commanding, his presence overwhelming. "Brooklyn," he said, "I wondered when you'd come." "I need to fix this," she said, voice trembling. "I can't lose control. Not like this." He studied her for a long moment, then smiled. "Control? You lost it the second you met me." Her chest tightened. "I don't care anymore," she whispered, falling to her knees. "Do whatever you want. Just don't leave me." Ethan extended his hand, pulling her up. "Good," he said, "because from now on, you answer to me." And that was it. Brooklyn Winters, Manhattan's queen, was no longer in control. She had been broken, humbled, and utterly consumed. Yet in the same moment, she felt alive in ways she never imagined. The city, the money, the status, it no longer mattered. What mattered was him, and the power he wielded, not through wealth or violence, but through the unrelenting force of desire and dominance that left her trembling, begging, and wholly devoted. Months later, when the media speculated about her fall from grace, the gossip magazines screamed about the heiress who had lost it all. What they didn't know, what no one could guess, was the truth. Brooklyn hadn't been destroyed by rivals or scandal. She had been conquered, and she had loved every second of it. Ethan, the man who had walked into her life like a storm, had rewritten her destiny. Brooklyn Winters, Queen of Manhattan, was now his willing follower, broken by desire, consumed by passion, and irrevocably his. The twist? In the heart of her submission, she discovered freedom. Freedom from arrogance, freedom from control, freedom from a world that demanded perfection. And in surrendering to him, she had found the power she never truly had before.